welcome to the Throw Show. I'm here with Dane Miller. He is currently in Albuquerque, New Mexico at Indoor U.S. Nationals. So we have him online. How's it going, Dane?
It's going great. It's surprisingly very cold here.
It's probably, what is it down there? It might even be warmer up here in PA.
Dude, last night it was like 20 degrees, and
yeah, definitely.
They told me
it's been like 60s here.
Yeah, I saw that. My Uber driver was saying that he said it's supposed to go back to 60 on Monday, but
okay, it's a little too late.
I wanted to point out though that yesterday was the first day of the HEP, and as a throws related channel, we coached the dude who won the shot in the HEP, and he did it with a bum groin, so I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you throw, like a little over 14?
Yeah, like 14:07.
That's Sam Black.
Yeah, so he's like, I actually don't think he's going to finish the event today. I think.
Oh, seriously? Oh, man. That's frustrating. All right, so first we got Axelina Johansson here from Nebraska going 1930. Let's play this again.
I think she's the fourth girl that has a 19-meter PR in the NCAA. And I think last year, what was that, season 2 last year or season 3 last year?
Season 2.
St. Clair. At World Championships, I was with him at a training session, and he had mentioned he was making, actually, Axelina yell on her last, like, 3 or 4 throws. And so I had used that this past fall with like Rachel and a couple of the other throwers. Like, yeah, we got to yell on the last 3 throws. And she had gone on then and this was at the World Championships. She went on and PR'd in qualifying. I want to say she made the final last year, if I can remember correctly. But I think, especially for what she's 22, she's not that old, and I think like this. Like technique-wise, she's extremely, extremely good, and she reminds me, movement-wise, of Yorinde. I wanted to see what you thought about that, Trevor.
Let's watch again here. Yeah, I think so. I think her right goes. She's got a strong right going into the middle, and maybe even, and I think you maybe had mentioned before, her left foot is either a little shorter, a little blocked off. It could just be the angle, but yeah, I feel like that real strong right leg kind of cranking into the middle is similar to Yorinde. We'll see here in a bit.
If you look at even though her left leg does look like it blocks off their hair, it almost gets entirely flat, which just, again, that strong right leg sweep, and then that holding position on the left leg just lets all that weight transfer forward and really control that finish.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously NCAA lead. That's a phenomenal throw. It's crazy to think like we have like the amount of throwers over in the NCAA either currently over 19 or have PRs over 19, and where I feel like just a few.
This was the lead, which then Yorinde smacked at 1957. I want to say it was a day later. And Adelaide's sitting there, who's an Olympian, and she might be the 3rd or 4th ranked girl right now in the NCAA.
Yeah, that's insane. So here's Yorinde's throw.
There we go.
Ooh, 1957. And that's the NCAA record.
There we go.
I still remember when Raven Saunders hit it. I don't even know how many years ago that was. And just how, I mean, still, even today, that's a massive throw, but just like how many girls are, over 19 now, I feel like it's just insane.
I was talking about, I think we did discuss this a little bit. There we go. I had a pros coach come up to me and say, what do you think this is yesterday, what do you think is the reason behind all this? And I was like, dude, the women's event we've been shackling the women with their training and with their technique, literally until like the last 6 or 7 years. So some of these women, fortunately, may never have experienced a glide. Basically everybody else. I think Raven early on was still gliding when she was in like 9th grade, 10th grade. But I think the big thing is that a lot of these women now, when they get into the sport, they might be learning how to spin from day one. And then where we're going to see this stuff pay off is like Yorinde, Axelina, all these other girls and stuff. Like it becomes much more reasonable that they will be throwing. We might see consistent 21-meter throws in the next 5 to 7 years based off of what they're doing at an earlier age.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit of a shame that like it just the transition that happened with the men from the glide to the spin, and it's just a bit of a shame that it has to be delayed. With that same thing happening with women, but I think we're seeing that now, and it's gonna show with the numbers, I think. So here's Cameron Rogers going 24:04.
I think so. It's crazy too. This is, dude. Just thinking about this. Look at the Yorinde, Axelina, Cameron Rogers. The first 3 videos that we're covering, they're collegiates. Cameron was second at Worlds last year in the hammer, and Yorinde was I think 5th or 4th in the discus, and then threw well in the shot, and then Axelina finalist in the shot. And these are collegiate women. It's like, it's just blowing my mind how good throwing is right now at the collegiate level, and I just think it's a testament to what the amount of resources that are available to these kids and to coaches as well, and how well coaching has improved over the last 5 to 10 years. So I think watching Cameron, it's like, dude, she's just such an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't even have the lead right now in the NCAA.
Yeah, let's watch this one more time. It's just like so just fluid.
Yeah.
Constant acceleration. That's crazy.
This one I was excited to talk about.
Yeah. So this is GAVSU, right? Yeah.
This is 1957, if I remember.
Okay. Yeah, that's big. And that's a D2 lead right now, correct? I believe so.
Yeah.
Let's watch it one more time.
That's the right thing. And again, this is just absolutely. I mean, he looks like he's 9 feet tall from this video angle. I don't know how big he is, but just Grand Valley continuing to dominate in the throws. That whole conference, the GLIAC conference, is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this kid throwing 1957. That just adds to the absurd amount of 19+ meter guys that are in the NCAA at all levels. So,
right.
I think it's also similar. I think you get a kid like this, and maybe he blossoms a little bit later at the high school level. I think this gives a lot of light to kids that, let's say you throw 50 feet in high school or 45 feet, like you can still blow up later on if you just keep grinding, if you keep staying focused on that movement.
Yeah, absolutely. So then from D2 to D3, the national record for Division III in the weight.
Man, that's crazy. Trevor, you were at the meet where Sean Dunn broke that, right?
Yeah. That was at you were there too.
Yeah, I was there as well.
In Winston-Salem.
Where's Carthage at? Where's Carthage?
Actually, I don't know. I don't know where it is. But yeah, 21.92. That's a bomb. 71.11. It's in Wisconsin, Carthage.
Does this kid throw discus? That's what I want to know. I want to know if he throws disc.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Yeah, that's a big throw. I mean, again, just everything, just year after year, ramping up all divisions.
So congrats to Joseph White. That takes us ready to Rudy Victor.
24.04.
See, so I was talking to Rudy yesterday. It's like not being a huge fan of the weight and not, just not really liking it and only having really, I think he's only throwing one meet with it. So it's like, what's going to happen? I'm interested to see today because the weight goes off today, U.S. Nationals. On the men's side, there's a kid from Kennesaw, Danny Hawes here, Rudy, Alex Young. Man, I wish I had the start list in front of me because I'm sure I'm missing 2 or 3 guys that are going to go. Sean Don's there. I want to see how many. I wanted to take bets on how many guys are going to go 24 and how many women are going to go 25.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
looking at the start list for the women too, and it's like with the men's side, I think it was 6 or 7 could do it, could potentially do it. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they could. And on the women's side, I think there was 9 women that could, in theory, throw over 80 or 81 feet.
Oh my goodness, that's insane. That's ridiculous. Wow. Think we're gonna see any national records today?
I think we might, possibly, not in the men's side, but possibly on the women's side.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. I don't know when this episode's going to go out, but results will probably be in before it goes out. But but we're going to cover it in the next episode, so stay tuned. Man, another 20-meter thrower.
Yeah. Also, is it just me or does it look like that circle's on the track?
Yeah, I don't know if they it almost looks like they cut off the end of the corner of the the platform so it doesn't go over, or it's raised a little bit and overlapping. I don't know. The track's raised.
I wanted to tell you, when I was watching that throw, this is another big discussion I had with Sean Denard, the coach at UCLA, is that for years the technical model was this wild movement and just it looked flashy, but it was hard to replicate. And now you watch a throw like John Mayer here, and this throw to me reminds me of Roger Steen. It reminds me of Josh Alatunde. It reminds me of Ryan Crouser. It's very simple, and it's easily it's very easy to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole point here is if you keep your movement simple and you just execute that 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 throws, you get 2036. And it's such an interesting thing now that we're seeing a kid like this, you watch him throw, you're oh, that was pretty good. And then he just slams the finish and it's all right, it's just hitting those positions over and over, getting comfortable there. And with a simple movement, it's easier to do it.
Right. And I mean, it's just efficiency of movement, wild extraneous movements of your limbs that are noticeable aren't efficient. You're going to be losing energy, and you're going to be, like you said, it's not replicable. So yeah, let's watch this one more time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fast through the circle. He lands the shot back and smashes the finish.
I was wondering this dude, Fred, so he's at Cincinnati. I was wondering if this was the school record there. I would assume it is. Sloth Damas predicts that Fred Moudani is going to win the NCAA. Which I wanted to bring up. I talked with Julie Dexter, just said hi to him and Coach McKay yesterday. He's here, but I thought he would still be throwing at indoor NCAAs. And if he is at indoor NCAAs, I do believe he's likely the favorite. But this kid moves really well. I'm assuming this is a school record at Cincinnati. And I think he might be of French descent, something like that. So I don't know if he represents France or the U.S. I'm not positive. I don't know his background really well, but I was just sort of looking into him a little bit because I think he's extremely wired, and I like how he moves.
Yeah. Yeah.
His finish, it's like one of those kids that you just see, like, he strokes it, and the shot just, it's like, when's the shot coming down? Like, it's just not, it just never is coming down.
I think that's where it's like, I mean, he seems taller and probably long limbed, but I feel like it's just that long finish. You know, that's where, like, it's not like a instantaneous like burst. It's like just adding more and more force on the shot, you know, over a longer period of time. That acceleration. Yeah. Hold on.
It's sort of like watching Krauser a bit.
Jason.
So he actually broke the American Athletic Conference record by 6 feet.
He broke. So
the previous record was 1873.
Fred Moudani broke the.
And he's a senior.
And it's the
American Athletic Conference.
So he broke the American Athletic Conference's record by 6 feet with this throw. So he didn't have that before. Was this a 6 foot PR?
The AAC says that the previous record holder was Tristan Gibbons out of Houston.
Okay. So
AAC is weird though. It's like, I think it used to be the Big East, but they changed their name and probably didn't take on any of the old Big East records.
Okay. Second, but still.
Is what did he throw last year?
Well, right, yeah. If that's a PR for him, I mean, has he been at Cincinnati?
I don't know because it said he's a senior.
Okay.
We got to do some more research.
Yeah, because clearly he's an up-and-comer who this isn't probably not going to be the last time he's on the Throw Show.
He was in JUCO.
Okay, so he was in JUCO before this, so that could be part of the reason.
I wanted to talk about this.
JUCO to Southern Mississippi, and
so JUCO to Southern Mississippi
through 1955 at Southern Mississippi.
Through 1955 there last year, and then came to Cincinnati. So that explains some of that.
Yeah, Southern Miss, I think, is in Conference USA.
And he is from France.
Okay. Here you go, Dane.
Baby girl, I'm the man from the big B. Hey, won't you come play round my way? Listen to what I gotta say. Simple
Yo, that's a big.
It was interesting on this. His left foot is a little bit more open than Lincoln's right foot.
At what point?
Right in the start there.
Okay.
Now, I couldn't tell if his left foot is more open or if his right foot is forward.
Baby girl, I'm the man from the big B. Hey, won't you come play round my way? Listen to what I gotta say. Simple.
Yeah, it's also interesting how he times it. So after the heel turn, his toe ends up right at the back of the circle too. I like that.
Yeah, play that again.
Baby girl, I'm the man from the big B. Hey, won't you come play round my way? Listen to what I gotta say. Simple.
So clearly,
I'm gonna pose one of my questions, Trevor. I think he might have flat feet.
Oh yeah, what's your reasoning?
The way he lands with his right in the middle. This dude moves so well.
I'm the man from the big B. Hey, won't you come play round my way? Listen to what I gotta say. Simple.
It's essentially how low the heel is there.
I think like some of the big. Just got a reminder that my wife's birthday is tomorrow, Trevor.
Don't forget.
I think that So when I was going back and I was watching Julian Ruck throw, and I remember seeing him be a little bit lower out of the back with the with that heel turn that he would have. Or I don't remember if he has a heel turn, but he would be a little bit lower around his left.
I think Mason just showed me his video yesterday or the day before, and I think he stays on his toe.
Okay. So one thing I was thinking with Lincoln is this could be, with this is Jacob Cookman, if I remember his name correctly. I think he did throw at Power Fest like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
If like watching him with that little bit squattier start, I think that does help him push around that left leg and then really get that momentum rolling from the right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested with Lincoln, and I wanted to see your opinion about what the left arm should be doing. What the left arm should be doing, sort of like from the start to that heel, really heel to toe.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what you thought.
Let's watch it again real quick.
I'm the man from the big B. Hey, don't you come play round my way? Listen to what
So, right. So in his throw, and I think we should almost throw Lincoln up here, but Lincoln was just throwing the other day, and one of his big problems is he falls back so hard. And I think it's because he doesn't, he's left-handed, so he doesn't get his right shoulder, he doesn't get his right side essentially stacked up on his right foot, so like Jacob here does a real good job of getting his left shoulder kind of over his left foot, and I think that keeps him on balance, keeps him lined up through the center of the circle, and, gives him more control entering the circle. And I think, but outside of the left shoulder staying over the left foot, I think the left arm should just be moving, along with it, opening up out of the back, just like you would in a traditional spin.
That's where I think I sort of think it could be a little bit more level, like a little bit more balance, and that might help Lincoln get his right shoulder over his right hip, and I think Jacob's not as level, but I think what you're saying makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think he does a great job with that position out of the back.
He also doesn't crank too hard. It's not like I think it's like one thing with this technique is you have extra time, and when you have more time, you don't need to go quite as fast because you can develop more speed over a longer period of time since the position of the circle. So you don't have to start out super fast where, you might break down, where there's more possibility of breaking down and losing balance and stuff out of the back. So I think taking it slow out of the back and just using that extra time for the foot position to build, to accelerate over that period of time.
We'll have to share my conspiracy theory around this technique in a future episode.
Okay. All right. We'll hold that one. Build some suspense. You don't know which episode it's going to be, but so watch all of them. Okay.
So I could share some behind the scenes with Brooke.
Yeah.
Yesterday she had just gotten here, and dude, she shanked like 2 or 3 up the left center, like literally out of the cage.
Mm-hmm.
But then lines up like 2 or 3 that she just sent to the moon, where I'm like, holy dude, like if she's on today, she's going big.
Yeah.
And I saw Annette was here, Maggie was throwing weight. I'm trying to think who else was there when I was there, but they were all bombing throws. So I'm anxious to see what ends up happening today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it'll be exciting, that's for sure. I think just another, We'll see. We'll see who comes out. I think someone's gonna hit that big one, but who it's gonna be. That's the question. And then Sade here going big also.
Assume has to be. I mean, this has to be the Nigerian record, and
new PB, 4 throws were. Oh, that's insane.
Number 5 ever in the world.
25-32. Man.
Let's go, girl. Come on.
Yeah, that's big, and it's like that's gonna help her. I think this is gonna help her mentally prep for 24. I think this is a huge.
Yeah.
Pull.
Yeah, that's massive. And she's there as well, right?
No, she's not here because she's Nigerian.
Oh shoot. Yeah. What am I thinking? Right. Man.
Annette is here, and she was one of the athletes who went to the Olympics for Nigeria, but did not compete because of admin issues. So she was able to transfer her allegiance without being penalized because she didn't compete. And then last year represented, she was the 3rd girl from the U.S. that made it to the World Championship. So Annette is here. So it's probably, I would assume, who you were thinking about.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And she's one of those 9 chicks that's going to go 81.
Yeah, right.
This throw is crazy. Travis Michael was going like 68-15 at King of the Ring, and I think Akers had thrown. Akers won, I want to say 66-80. So Schmeichel's got the mark now for Worlds. Chadwick did not throw that well here, who's an Olympic finalist, and I think that the one thing I was saying is that we got to get Noah into the next King of the Ring because that left sector wind looks pretty promising, but also Schmeichel looks like he's in good movement, good form.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's more pre-opened with his right foot, almost like how Sarah Minton tends to do with her left.
Mm.
And I don't remember him ever doing that before, but he just looks really, really smooth. And last year at Commonwealth Games, he had said something to Alex, like it was hard adjusting because he's got a daughter, and he was like, it's hard adjusting to having a kid, and it's taken him a couple years. But I think like that's one of those big levels of maturity is like you go from being 25, 26, 27 to now I think he's like 30 or 31, and he's sort of like settled into that fatherhood position. And
Yeah.
I think he does have a daughter, if I remember correctly. He might have actually even been talking about his spouse, but I remember him saying how it was like a long adjustment period. And I think It's cool to see that, like someone making that adjustment.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think any lifestyle change, like, it just comes with its adjustments, and those are the things that you don't see. You just see the numbers. You see the numbers coming through, but you never know, what's actually going on in someone's life that is impacting their training and their competing. I
think that's the best thing that you can say right there, Trevor. I think it's like we all see the outside, and so that's why it's neat. He goes in PRs at this age, and it's like 68 meters. It's just like everybody's got to keep that open mind. Like we all have stuff going on, so making those adjustments and stuff, and if we can be as supportive as possible in the community, I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're almost to the Krauser slide. We're getting to the Krauser slide here, but we're saving that for the end.
But first, an insane women's competition at the Milrose Games. With Chase Ealey winning with 20:03, and I think there were 2 others. Sarah Minton and Maggie Ewan went like, what was it, 1949 and 1952 or something. Which is, incredible as well.
I think, Chase is just another example of patient positions, consistency with hitting those positions over and over. And this is a huge throw. It's like anything over 20 plus, and she's a little banged up. So that's the other thing too. I think for the high school kids out there that tend to get frustrated if they're injured or something, it's like, just make sure that if you can still throw far when you are banged up, but also like figuring out one thing, a tribute to her and her coach is like she's got some issues with her trunk right now, and they're still figuring out like, all right, how can we alter the movement patterns so that she can still hit some big throws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Richards did learn from his mistakes last week. This is
Yeah, that's big. And she'll be competing tomorrow, I believe. Yeah. So, on to Krauser. But first, we got an image of our boy, Benjamin Shue, with the great. I'm still excited to see what, I feel like Ben's, he's a favorite on the throw show, and we'll be seeing more of him this year. But cool that he got to go up there and see them throw. Yeah, that's for sure.
He's wrestling pretty well this year.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay, Krauser slide.
latest best of the competition.
It's subtle though, Hannah, isn't it? And he did say you won't be able to miss it. Now,
So when I walked into the convention center, I saw Eric Sullins, who does a lot of who's a great weight thrower himself, but also does a lot of work with, like, he trains with Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And he had asked me, he's like, what do you think about it? And I was like, I think what's interesting is it helps him not just get over his left, but I actually feel like he gets, I know it sounds weird, but it's almost like he gets out of the back of the circle a little more. So he like goes out and around a little bit better. And I think what else is interesting here. So he actually threw 22.58 with this technique. And he had said, I guess it was back in November is when he started to play around with it, and he was throwing the 6K. I think he threw the 6K like 78 feet or something when he first started playing around with it. But it's so incredible to me, one, what's going on in the throws world. Like we mentioned, we mentioned with the women and what's happening, but also this dude's a world record holder. He's the greatest shot putter that has ever walked the planet, 2-time Olympic champ. I believe no one will argue if he can continue his what he's doing. He will be. He is the greatest ever,
Mm-hmm.
and he's still playing around with technical things and trying to, almost create a better position of energy out of the back. So I think that's something that people need. Like we need to really respect and appreciate. Really, not respect, but appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So here we got another angle of the Krauser side. So what it actually is, if you weren't able to pick up one, I know some of my high schoolers were talking about, I was like, I don't even really see how it was any different. I'm like, well, like it's pretty different. And what he's doing is he's lining up a little staggered off to the right side. And then the first thing he does before actually picking up his right foot is he shifts his left foot about a foot to the left and then picks up the right foot. So unfortunately, there isn't a really good angle that actually highlights it well, but this might be the best one where you can kind of see his foot shifting to the left.
See where that chalk bin is, like where Pippery's standing? That's how I feel like that's the angle that he gets to out of the back there.
Mm. Yeah.
And I also feel like it makes his left leg a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing, I wanted to bring this up, the only thing that I struggle with is that Krauser's a huge fan of static starts. And I think maybe this was to alleviate some of the issue he was having with his dynamic start. And my argument would be, now this is me being devil's advocate because I love what he's doing. I think he should just keep trying this. But my argument would be, why not remove the static start drill and do more dynamic starts and see if that if it's just like there's not enough reps from the dynamic position to help with that consistency. But I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah. I mean, I think the cool thing is, like, if anyone else, Krauser is the tip of the spear when it comes to shot put throwing, and technique, and he has the world record. He's the tip of the spear. Like, he's pioneering, where shot put technique is going, and has gone already. Like, a lot of the things he's done already with his technique, people are replicating and having, like, really good success with. And I think one thing to keep in mind with this is like, understand that, when you're pioneering something, you don't really know where it's going to end up. And I think part of it is he's experimenting, and, to fully see something through, you got to do it, and, and whether or not, I don't think he's even set on whether it's going to, stick or have, lasting success. But I think one thing I wanted to bring up that you actually touched on earlier was the concept of making the throw simple. And I think that's something and I think it's where you can look at Krauser differently than say, if you're a high schooler or, even a college athlete, trying to figure out technique and what you should do. And there's a big difference between perfecting a simple technique and perfecting, a more complex technique. And I think, the spin to begin with is a more complex movement. And I think, the one concern, is that kids are going to come out, try to execute this technique, and, it's going to take them longer to get to a core, good, technically sound spin throw. It's the same reason why we train a lot of our high schoolers right off the bat with the non-reverse, is because it simplifies it. It makes the core movement of the throw easier to figure out. And I think, just to stress that, like, having that core movement of the spin is crucial before trying to take the spin one step further with, a technique change like this.
With the slide or the cycle.
Right. But I think, like, Krauser's at the point, obviously, where he can do that. His spin technique is phenomenal, so he can push the boundaries of it.
Now, Trevor, I want to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
What if, using the women's examples, if we have women spinning when they're 11, 12, 13 years old, and then by the time they're 28, they're dropping these 21, now all of a sudden we might have 21 meter throwers consistently. Like, I use Chase as an example. She's only been spinning for like 5 years. Imagine if Chase was spinning back in like 2010. So, like,
Right.
My argument would be, what if we teach kids that are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade? Like, I remember people giving me flack because we were having kids spin when they were in middle school and complaining about that, like they're not ready. But then those were the kids, like, that would go out, someone like Jeff. He learned how to spin at an earlier age, and then by the time he was a junior, he's throwing 60 plus. Brady, another good example. So my devil's advocate argument is, what if we teach these kids the slide or the cyclone earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I think, right. I mean, I think what I would say is it's still the core of the movement. Like, the core movement of the glide is completely different than the core movement of the spin. And, like, being able to, because if you don't know how to get your right foot down and hold your left arm back and, stay back on the right foot over the finish, adding an extra step in the spin, it'll make it more difficult to learn those aspects. However, I think, and this is the same thing with, like, teaching the reverse and, like, when do you teach the reverse? I think adding those things in at certain periods of time, if it is the end goal, I think could be beneficial, but still having, those periods of time where you are focusing on the core movement.
Yeah.
But
I think it's going to create a very interesting, possibly coaching split.
Mm.
I mean, I'm the more aggressive, crazy version that would be like, now let's use a cyclone on all of our throwers. Like, I would tell you, like, Trevor, I think we should be teaching the cyclone. As soon as this outdoor season ends for high school, let's have everybody do it.
I'm definitely on the conservative end.
So I think it's like it could really lead to a really interesting split in coaching, which would be like this 10-year experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, though, it does make sense.
I also think it takes a certain, just like I think it takes a certain personality and a type of athlete. I think some athletes aren't attentive enough on their technique in general to be able to really dial in something like this where, a simpler movement's going to be more advantageous. But there are certainly athletes who can really, it will even bring more out of them to attempt a more complex movement than they would have if they were doing a more simple movement, to try something new like that. So I think it can be person to person.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think it's important, too, to even acknowledge that somebody who wants to change, like I think that Jacob Cookman, bring him back up. I don't think he plays football. I could be wrong, but I don't think he does. And I think that that's another factor is like, if you've got a kid like Javen, like he wouldn't have spent the time to do all this stuff because he was doing sports. Whereas if you have someone, same with Ben. Ben's actually tried the cyclone in training. They've sent me videos a few times. But he wrestles and plays football. So it's like, would he benefit from from trying it when he's not getting a lot of reps in already because he's playing two other sports? So I think that's another factor.
Yeah, and I think, regardless of which technique is going to end up being better, I think the probably the biggest takeaway I want to harp on is that it's by no means a quick fix. It's by no means something you can just, I'll throw this in and with the hopes of immediately throwing further. I think it has to be approached with a long-term perspective.
I agree 100%.
I think that's it. That's all we got. We're going to have a lot next week with, or in 2 weeks with U.S. Indoors, which is going on this weekend. But yeah, other than that, stay tuned, everyone. If you need coaching or programs or technical analysis courses, you can head over to throwsuniversity.com. We have all that stuff. But we'll see you next time, guys. Peace. Yeah.